Flight 9 exploded. Over $90 million vaporized in few minutes. Most CEOs would have called emergency board meetings, hired crisis management firms, and delayed public commitments for months. Instead, Elon Musk posted detailed failure analysis on Twitter, accelerated Mars colonization timelines, and increased public appearances. This response reveals something most entrepreneurs never understand about elite business psychology. While average leaders optimize for damage control, breakthrough entrepreneurs optimize for long-term strategic advantage during crisis moments. Welcome to Simple Storytellers, where we're making complex business crystal clear. What you're about to discover are 5 psychological frameworks that separate elite entrepreneurs from everyone else. These are the internal mental models that enable impossible achievement under impossible pressure. By the end of this breakdown, you'll recognize these patterns in every elite entrepreneur's decisions and implement them in your own business challenges. First, compartmentalization psychology. Consider the first psychological framework that separates elite entrepreneurs from average business leaders. When Flight 9 exploded, most executives would have canceled all external commitments and focused exclusively on crisis management. Instead, Musk maintained regular SpaceX operations, continued Tesla production schedules simultaneously. This represents systematic compartmentalization psychology that prevents crisis from contaminating unrelated business functions. Elite entrepreneurs operate multiple mental frameworks simultaneously without allowing failures in one area to create paralysis across all areas. The psychological mechanism works through what cognitive scientists call compartmentalization, basically the business equivalent of arguing with your spouse while still remembering to feed the cat. Traditional leaders experience crisis as global threat demanding universal response mobilization. Elite entrepreneurs treat crisis as domain-specific challenge requiring targeted solutions while maintaining operational effectiveness across unaffected business areas. Average entrepreneurs experiencing major setbacks typically redirect organizational focus entirely toward crisis resolution, essentially stopping forward progress. Elite entrepreneurs allocate crisis response resources while simultaneously maintaining innovation momentum across unrelated business functions. The competitive advantage becomes clear during extended crisis periods. While competitors focus exclusively on damage control, elite entrepreneurs continue advancing strategic objectives and executing long-term plans that create market advantages during competitor recovery periods. The diagnostic question every entrepreneur should consider when your business faces significant setbacks: do you stop everything to focus on problems, or do you isolate crisis response while maintaining forward momentum in unaffected areas? But compartmentalization alone doesn't explain how elite entrepreneurs handle public failure without reputation damage. 2. Transparent failure analysis. Here's the second psychological framework that elite entrepreneurs use to transform failure into competitive advantage. When Flight 9 exploded, traditional crisis management protocols would have demanded controlled messaging and careful reputation protection. Instead, Musk immediately published detailed technical failure analysis, shared internal investigation findings, and openly discussed timeline implications. Most leaders believe that admitting mistakes damages credibility and weakens market confidence. Elite entrepreneurs understand that transparency during failure creates 3 distinct advantages: accelerated learning, enhanced credibility, and competitive intelligence gathering that closed-door crisis management cannot achieve. Consider what traditional failure management costs organizations. Closed-door crisis response prevents external input that could accelerate solutions, limits learning opportunities from industry expertise, and forces teams to solve complex problems without broader knowledge networks. SpaceX's valuation didn't crater after Flight 9's explosion, it surged. Turns out investors prefer brutal honesty over creative storytelling about rocket-powered fireworks. Industry partnerships expanded rather than contracted. The transparent failure analysis built market authority rather than damaging it. The strategic question becomes implementation methodology. Elite entrepreneurs don't share everything. They share systematic analysis, clear learning outcomes, and specific improvement plans that demonstrate competence through transparency. Here's the framework every entrepreneur must evaluate. When your business faces public setbacks, do you optimize for reputation protection or learning acceleration? But transparent failure only works when driven by mission psychology rather than ego psychology. 3. Mission versus ego psychology. Here's the psychological difference that separates empire builders from reputation managers. When Flight 9 exploded, ego-driven leaders would have quietly delayed Mars timelines and protected personal credibility. Instead, Musk accelerated Mars colonization promises and published more aggressive development schedules. Mission-driven psychology operates from abundance thinking. Every setback becomes data that accelerates the ultimate objective. Ego-driven psychology operates from scarcity thinking. Every setback threatens personal reputation and must be minimized or hidden. Ego-driven entrepreneurs set achievable goals that guarantee success and preserve credibility. Basically, the business equivalent of only taking selfies with perfect lighting. Mission-driven entrepreneurs set impossible timelines that force breakthrough innovation, even when individual deadlines are missed. The psychological mechanism creates different relationships with failure. Mission advancement recognizes that aggressive timelines accelerate organizational development beyond what conservative planning could achieve. The failure becomes a feature, not a bug, of the strategic approach. Energy allocation follows completely different patterns. Ego-driven leaders spend significant mental resources protecting reputation and managing stakeholder perception. Mission-driven leaders channel that energy into problem-solving and capability building regardless of personal credit or blame. The competitive advantage emerges from this psychological foundation. The diagnostic question every entrepreneur must answer: do your business decisions optimize for mission advancement or ego protection? Most founders believe they're mission-driven while making ego-protective choices about timeline commitments and strategic risk tolerance. But mission psychology alone doesn't explain how elite entrepreneurs scale this mindset across entire organizations. 4th, scaling founder mindset. Here's the organizational secret that separates breakthrough companies from corporate bureaucracies. When Flight 9 exploded, SpaceX's engineering teams immediately began redesigning rocket systems without waiting for executive approval or formal project initiation. Tesla's manufacturing teams routinely implement production improvements without bureaucratic sign-offs. Traditional corporate structures operate through delegation and approval hierarchies, where innovative ideas go to die in committee meetings that could have been emails. Elite entrepreneurs build organizations that operate through distributed ownership and autonomous execution. Every team member thinks like a founder because organizational systems reward founder-like behavior patterns. The mechanism works through decision authority distribution. Instead of centralizing strategic decisions at executive levels, breakthrough companies push decision-making authority down to operational teams while maintaining strategic alignment through mission clarity. Cultural architecture becomes the competitive differentiator. Traditional companies hire employees to execute predetermined strategies. Elite organizations hire entrepreneurs to advance shared missions. This generates teams of individuals who naturally think like business owners rather than employees. Resource allocation follows founder psychology patterns. Traditional companies require budget approvals for innovation projects and executive permission for strategic pivots. The diagnostic framework every entrepreneur must evaluate. Do your organizational systems reward employee thinking or founder thinking? Most companies claim to want innovation while maintaining structural barriers that punish entrepreneurial initiative and intelligent risk-taking. But scaling founder mindset requires one final psychological element that most leaders overlook. 5. Impossible timeline strategy. Here's the final psychological framework that transforms organizations from good to impossible. When Flight 9 exploded, most aerospace companies would have extended Mars mission timelines by years to account for setback recovery. Instead, Musk announced accelerated development schedules and more aggressive colonization targets. Impossible timelines function as forcing mechanisms that bypass normal operational limitations. When teams have sufficient time, they optimize for efficiency, hold planning meetings about planning meetings, and somehow turn 2-week projects into 6-month strategic initiatives. When teams face genuinely impossible deadlines, they abandon inefficient processes and discover breakthrough solutions. Elite entrepreneurs compress timelines below feasible completion rates, forcing teams to eliminate non-essential activities and focus exclusively on breakthrough-enabling work. Consider the organizational transformation mechanism. Under impossible timelines, teams implement rapid prototyping, parallel development tracks, and immediate testing cycles that accelerate learning rates beyond what traditional project management could achieve. Performance data reveals counterintuitive results. SpaceX's rocket development cycles operate significantly faster than traditional aerospace timelines, despite complexity increases. The strategic implementation requires careful psychological calibration. Timelines must be genuinely impossible through normal methods, but theoretically achievable through breakthrough approaches. Elite entrepreneurs identify the precise pressure point that maximizes breakthrough potential. The competitive advantage emerges from capability development rather than timeline completion. Remember Flight 9's explosion? You don't see disaster anymore. You see compartmentalization, transparent failure analysis, mission psychology. Have you ever looked at business failures from this psychological angle before? Simple Storytellers just made complex business crystal clear. If this shifted how you think about entrepreneurial psychology, hit that subscribe button for more hidden frameworks that reveal what elite leaders really think. Which framework resonates with you most? Drop a comment and tell me, are you naturally a compartmentalizer, or do you struggle with mission versus ego psychology? I read every comment and often turn the best discussions into future episodes. Like this video if you're ready to think like an elite entrepreneur, and share it with someone who needs to see failure differently. Keep watching our previous case studies where we make complex business crystal clear for you. I guarantee you'll never see normal business decisions the same way again.